After working with hundreds and hundreds of dog trainers and helping them grow and scale their business, one of the biggest mistakes I see them do is that they're underpricing their services and they're leaving a ton of money on the table. What I want in this video is I want to share with you a mastermind that we hosted, and typically we do these Q&As with our clients, and one of the main topics in this particular call or mastermind was pricing. One of our students, one of our clients asked about pricing, and he was underpricing himself. And of course, other dog trainers gave their feedback. And I kind of want you to listen to this recording as well, just because I don't want you to lose money on the table. A lot of the times I see many dog trainers come in and we ask them about pricing, and then we ask them if they feel that they're underpricing the services, and over 90% of them say yes, they do. So then we talk about, how to gradually increase those prices until we find that sweet spot. But at the end of the day, if you're a dog trainer, then there's a high chance that you're underpricing your services, especially if you're brand new into the game. And hopefully this, video helps you make more money and, make sure that you get paid what you're actually worth.
I would like to ask about pricing for sure. I think that right now I'm way too low. Let me see, because I can give you some ballparks on what my packages look like right now, and you can tell me where I'm at. But for example, my highest package right now is running about $3,300, and that's for a 6-month program, and that just seems low.
Yeah, that's way low.
And then on the other,
way more.
Yes.
National average is $1,000 a week for board and trains.
Got you. Okay. All right. So that's my baseline. Okay, $1,000 a week. Thank you. On the other end, I have, like, for private lessons, my starting point for puppies is usually $125 per. I sell those in packages, so I'm not aiming to just be like, oh yeah, well, I'll teach this one lesson, hope you come back next week. I'm like, you gotta pay in full. But yeah, that one is $125, and then for like our premium packages, say we're trying to teach like agility or something of that nature, have it about $250, which also seems kind of low.
So I'm right where you're at, like really close to you. And so I've got a package. It's like 5 private sessions plus my group sessions. And I include equipment, and I was at 1,800, and everybody's like, whoa, you're the cheapest. And so I moved up to 2,300 on that program. Boot camp wise, I'm at 4,700. And everything's included with lifetime group sessions. And then I've got a package where I'm like 2 private sessions plus 6 group sessions that I'm 1,200 on. So I would try to stay away, and this is just me. There's a lot smarter people on here than I am, but I would try to stay away from a la carte pricing. It'll have you running nonstop unless you have a lot of people working for you. So packages is where it's at. And the group sessions are actually a huge value to people. Like if they'll show up to groups, they can train a service dog or anything. So that's just my take. I'm curious what everybody else says though.
What's up? Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.
All right.
Well, I mean, I do a la carte for privates, but the whole thing with private lessons for me is they have to do it here on site. And I'm not exactly in the city, and I'm not exactly in the suburbs either. I'm pretty rural, so that they got to make a trip. So I don't do packages because of that. And just because I'm in Colorado, it snows, people aren't going to be able to get here for most of the winter anyway. So it's really hard for me to justify doing package deals. Now, as far as like board and train goes, I think it matters what your space capability is like. So if it's like you're doing it at a home, or you have a small facility with just a couple of kennels, yeah, you're going to want your price to be higher because you can only take in X amount of dogs. You have to make those spots valuable. For us, we kind of work on a bit more of a volume thing. So that's why our prices are lower than they probably should be because we can house 50 to 80 dogs at a time. So we don't really need to depend too much on a high price. We depend more on the volume of getting that kennel space, occupied as opposed to just letting it sit there vacant because like a hotel, it does nothing for anybody. So, if you feel like the flow you're getting and the clientele and everything you're getting at the pricing that you're at and you're surviving, you're making a profit and all that, not really a massive, huge reason to change pricing. But if you feel like there's wiggle room there, hey, there's no harm in doing it at the right time of year. Maybe at the end of the fiscal year and everything, give it a little bit of a bump. And here's the thing too: is Maddie and I had to talk about this. Just because you bump up the price doesn't mean then you can't offer a scholarship to bring it kind of back down to where you were, because you're going to get those people that are like, okay, let's say it's $5,000. Now you have people that are willing to pay $5,000, and then people that might need a little bit of help. It gives you more room to still hit your baseline, but to be able to give them something that they feel like is value, and you're still making a gain as well. So everybody really wins right there. So it's that. I don't know where I'm going with that, but.
Oh, you're good. Let me make sure I'm hearing correctly. So let's say I raise my high end package to 5,000-6,000. I have a client that's like, I could probably go about 4 at the most, and I'm kind of stretching it. So I would still offer a program, just maybe not that same one, but an offering that's going to get their needs met. It's just not going to have like all of the premium services to it.
So let me ask something real quick, man. What you went into your packages a little bit. Do you do board and trains, or is it just all private?
We do board and trains, we do day camp, and then we also do private lessons.
Okay, so tell me your board and train pricing.
Okay. For my 4-week program, which is spread out over 6 months, so I have like 2 weeks on the front end and then 2 weeks on the back end and 4 private lessons in the middle. That one's priced at like $3,300.
Okay. And that's it. That's it. That's the only program you offer for board and train. Okay, so which one has? Okay.
Okay. The other one is it's 1 2-week board and train, and then we have 2 private lessons in addition. And that one is at I need to double check. That one's at 2,100, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Are you getting more people at the 2-week or more people at the 4-week? And what's the pushback on the 4-week? Is it people don't want to leave their dog for that long, or what? Because it's like Joe said, it's going to be easier if you just offer like very standard, like this is board and train, this is private, this is what each session costs, and this is your day train. Like everything's going to be separate, but you don't want to be giving people like 7-8 different options. Like it's easier to explain why they need the extra time or the other program instead of giving them the option of taking the cheaper route where the dog's not going to maybe meet the maximized level that you can get in a longer program or whatever. If that makes sense.
Ooh, okay. That absolutely makes sense. So at this point, like selling I have not sold any of the higher end package, and I don't think it's necessarily pricing. I think it's like you just said, they look and they're like, well, I could probably get results in the 2 weeks, so why would I pay for the 4? And I'm not really like communicating the value difference between the two.
Yeah, but see, you're giving them, because now they have in their head, okay, there's this cheaper option. I'm still going to get something out of that. If you took that away and you just had to explain to them why the 4-week, is the best route. Now you don't have to, for one, it's going to be easier to explain it to them. You're going to be able to speak to them and explain it to them. And it's going to become less of a money thing because they're not going to have the other price in their head. So so for me or for us, it's more effective and efficient to do the 4-week. Can I do dogs in 2 weeks or less? Absolutely. But I'm going to be running myself, all day, all night trying to get that dog there. So if I were doing 2 weeks, it's going to cost more than a 4-week. I rather do the 4 week because now it gives me more time. I get to, do more things with the dog. I get to have that flexibility and everything. The biggest point of contention is somebody leaving their dogs for 30 days. Hey, we send videos, we send updates, boom, 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 build that trust. They leave their dog and, because they're leaving their kid, and you just have to make them feel like this was a good decision on their part. It becomes less about the money and more about the trust of how you're going to be dealing with their dog. So that's an easier conversation than fighting with them to be like, hey, spend 2,000 or spend 4,000. I can't really, it's hard to push somebody from 2 to 4 if they feel like that's an option, That's just my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I would say nuts
I
and
agree,
bolts
that's
wise,
solid.
your boot camp's probably worth over 4,000. I don't know if that
Excellent.
came through.
Yeah, that's gonna be our. Agreed. Yeah, that's gonna be the big adjustment. Yeah, and that's something that I was like plan on looking at this evening before I bring in the new. So
Put this away.
that's the 4,000. It's definitely something I would want to do for the change that pricing so that way when I'm teaching sales to my new employee, I'm like, hey, look, we don't even have to rethink the part where we're trying to build the value for the difference between the lower and the higher. We can just focus on the higher. So okay. What's up? Yeah, that definitely it's got my mind rolling. It's got me thinking, and especially now I don't want to make sure that we're filling the calendar, but also like at the end of October, I'm like my daughter is coming through, like babies do, and so like I'm not gonna have as much capacity to be trying to do what you're just saying, um, Taylor, where it's like, okay, I'm trying to do a whole bunch in 2 weeks. I'm just not gonna have it. I'm like, hey, look, I got a baby girl. She's not sleeping through the night, obviously, and I'm only gonna be able to take on like maybe a dog, and the rest are gonna be for the team. So I would rather have one person that's like willing to pay more than try to get like 2 or 3 at that lower
Right, and
rate.
there's a psychological thing behind it too. When people are paying more, especially when it comes to dog training, they tend to be more attentive to the actual training and reinforcing the training instead of just like, hey, that was pretty cheap. This guy's the cheapest in town. Okay. And then they're willing to spend that money. And then they're also willing to go somewhere else when they don't feel satisfied and spend more money because you were so cheap. Right. Psychologically, if somebody's paying more, they're going to be more involved in the process. And you're going to gain a different type of client. So there's it's like the people that drive Mercedes are different than the people that drive GMs on a personal level. Like, I know it's a shitty example, but it's the only thing I could think of off the top of my head as I look at a driveway full of fucking GM products. So, but, it's especially if, your time is very valuable. And that's one of the things of your time should be worth it. Instead of what you can do, it's, okay, what keeps me what makes the fatigue worth it? Is it worth it to do 5 dogs at $4,000 or $5,000 each, so for 20 grand, or is it worth it to do 10 dogs at 2,000 a piece? What's better for your mental capacity?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely am feeling you on that. Right on.
Nice. And then Maddie, did you have something to add on to that, or you have a question?
Yeah. I was just gonna add on to it. I mean, Taylor kind of said it. He said a lot of it, but I mean, people pay more for what they deem as higher value because honestly, like when your prices are a little bit higher, people think that they're getting a better training, a higher value. They are more invested. I mean, like for instance, for cars, like if a car is worth 100,000 versus 40,000, like chances are you're gonna think the $100,000 car is nicer. Just like Taylor said. I definitely will say, go watch the Keithman Dixon video because it kind of sounds like, and I kind of did this too in the beginning of, you're kind of letting people pick. Well, when you go to the doctor, do you tell the doctor what medication you need for, the cut on your arm, or does the doctor tell you like you're the expert here. People are paying for your expert opinion. I don't give people options anymore. When I walk into an eval, like I don't give it over the phone. But like when I walk into an eval and I talk to them, I hear their goals. Like I always kind of have something in mind, but like I hear their goals. I hear exactly what they want. I work with the dog a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, this is the program that you're going to get the results that you want to get. And like, for instance, this weekend, a $6,000 close. This woman was hell bent. She was like, I'm not sending my dog to board and train. Absolutely not. No way. No how. Every brick wall was up. But I told her, I was like, you know what, your dog's high anxiety. Like, I worked with the dog, whatever. And I was like, so we can do this. I said, this is a lesser option. It wasn't about the money for her, but I said, you know, this is a lesser option. I said, but we're not going to be able to address X, Y, and Z. I said, so if you want to pay less, I said, great. I said, but you're not going to get the results you want and whatnot. And by the end of it, like, I mean, Lynn and I closed her, but you know, she was hell bent, but like we stood our ground and we told her exactly, like, you know, you're not going to get the results because like you're the expert. People are paying for your expert opinion. They're not paying to get, like, again, don't give them the option because like, I mean, if somebody's like, for instance, today the people were absolutely against e-collars, so I was like, all right, police training programs, like that's the only option for you. You know, like I don't give people an option. Like I walk in, I already know what's going on, and like you're the boss here, so like you tell them. And like when you do raise your prices, also like there's going to be a range that you're acceptable. Like Taylor talked about, like the scholarship. So like I raise my prices, but in the back of my mind, like I have a range in my head of what I'm willing to accept. So I have it in my back pocket if I can be like, hey, you know, my board and train is 6,000, but it's also in my house because it's inconvenient and I'll probably hate it, but it's in my house. So I want to be paid for the worth of it. And like, but for those who need a scholarship, I'm also fine with, you know, throwing 1,000 or throwing 2,000, and I'm still okay with taking, you know, 4,000. Like you have that range of what you're okay with taking, because you can whip out that scholarship as your last resort if you can't figure out any other way to close them and you're like, nothing I'm doing is working, da 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 da. Like you can use that as your back pocket, but have that range because, like, I mean, all of us are worth hella money here, so like don't sell yourself short. Like you got a baby on the way, you got to provide, like you got to make that swipe. So like don't sell yourself short. And also, like, I mean, it sounds like you offer a lot of programs, so like I can't speak to all your programs. I don't really know what they are, but maybe just streamline to make it easier on yourself. You sounds like you have a great team there, but like you don't need to offer 10,000 options. You can just offer a couple options. If this option is solid, you know, sell people on that option. Then you don't need 10,000 options. You can just have a few that are super solid options for you. Definitely go watch the Keith and
That's
Dixon
beautiful.
because
Okay. I got you. I'm like, I love homework, so I'm also going to be putting in for this book. So the Hermosi book. Okay, I appreciate it, Maddie. It's like I think the simplicity is the way to go. It's like let's make sure that I'm not overcomplicating for myself, not overcomplicated for my team, where they're going into the house and they're like, well, okay, we have this bigger package, but we might also offer this other one because it's there. And as soon as we get like an objection on the higher price, like, well, let's just go with this one. So that just removes that. It's like, all right, look, yep, we're up there. And I'm willing to give them a little bit of leeway and say, okay, yeah, scholarship. There we go. So now I got a better understanding of that too. So thank you for that.
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, like
scholarship. Yep.
I only
One
have
list is 8. We can make it 7. You know, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I only have 3 solid programs, and like I just created a random hybrid program, honestly, because I had just had like a weird situation, but I didn't even end up meeting the people. So like it's not even an option. It's honestly just in the back of my head of like if somebody comes with a weird situation, but like I have 3 solid packages, there ain't nothing else. You're either fitting in this one or you're fitting in this one. Even my lowest one, I really don't sell. I don't really advertise it. I mean, it's an option for those who are super objective, but like essentially I have 2 really solid programs and you're either doing this one or you're doing this one. So I'm either getting $2,400 or I'm getting $6,000. So
Yeah, I think we kind of talked. We had a post about that. I want to say it was a couple of months ago. Of you can have other options available, but they don't need to know about it. So it's kind of like in your back pocket of like, hey, I can offer you like a hybrid program. So like I do that. We offer board and train. I've got some people that aren't totally on it. If it's kind of like into the point to where it feels like I'm going to lose the sale, I'm like, hey, I can do this instead. And then they light up and everything and we go down that route. But you're going to present the option when it's needed. They don't necessarily have to go into it knowing that it's an option. If that kind of makes sense. I know it sounds a little sleazy, but it's, you know, it's a bit of a tactic. I don't know. Maybe Jorge has some opinion on that.
Yeah, so my opinion on that is like,
I get it. It's like when you walk to the dealership, they don't take you to the cheapest car and be like, "Oh, drive that one." They're like, "Go with the premium." The car I'm driving right now, it was the more expensive option, and I was like, "Well, it's got less miles too, so I get to drive it long." So that's one I went with. So that totally makes sense.
yeah, and also just to piggyback on that is just, the more options that we give someone, the more confused they're gonna buy. And what happens when someone is confused? They don't buy. So a confused mind never buys. So it's like, I'm all about like simplicity as well. So it's like, you can have all these options, but you don't necessarily need to present it to them. You can have like your top three and then just lead with that, just because again, if you present someone and be like, all right, I got all these eight, they're gonna be confused and they're gonna be like, all right, I don't know which one to go to. And now they're like, okay, what about this one and that one? And then, now you're just, trying to over explain it and you're just gonna lose them throughout the process. So we want that process to be more linear than just overwhelming them. And essentially that's how you get that sell.
That's
Sweet,
what's up.
sweet.
I really appreciate this. Definitely.
Of course, of course. And then do you know where to find that Keith video or not? If
If
not,
you could shoot me a link, I'd appreciate it.
yeah, of course, of
Simplicity, like
course.
we just said. Yeah.
Andrea, can you do me a favor? Can you just put the link right here, please, on the Zoom chat? That way,
Yeah, sure.
everyone here has it. Awesome. Thank you. All right, we got a question, or are we,
Oh,
coming to?
I was gonna piggyback off of what Maddie was saying about the Keith video, but also what we did when we were figuring out like pricing, because we also just raised our prices on our lowest package to 25, still keeping in mind the scholarship option if needed. And we just recently gave like a couple $100 off or something to somebody. But doing your own market research in your area, so knowing what the other people around you are charging and also knowing their program, so knowing how to like, because people are going to call around, people are going to know what this person or that person is doing, but you want to be able to upsell yourself and your program in a better way.
Yep, yep. And
Yeah.
then, just to also piggyback on that, on the whole pricing, it's just like, I know sometimes, some of us may be a little frightened or intimidated to increase, the prices. You can start testing that out. So if you know that you're meeting with people and then you're closing people, they're like, all right, let me just bump it up a little bit more, right? So you bump it up and then you start kind of seeing like, all right, am I getting the same amount of sales? Am I getting the same amount of closing rate? If you have the same amount, then you can continue to increase it, until you hit this sort of threshold that you're like, all right, I'm losing people here. But then again, that's why we have this, scholarship, in the back of our pockets, just in case for those who do not want to proceed forward. It's like you can also offer, that scholarship to them. Sweet,
Ooh,
sweet.
that's beautiful because I have one lady that she was like so committed. I've been in contact with her, and then she's just like, I just can't afford it. I just moved, and I'm like, all right. So this is gonna be like my last offer. I'll use that word. Last offer. Hey, look, I really want to help you. It sounds like you've done the most, and I'm willing to boom offer the scholarship. We'll take this offer you. And I think she would be so grateful because she was telling me about how stressful it was. So I'm gonna give this a shot, and I will definitely share the results.
Sweet. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, keep us posted. Share it on
Yes,
on the school platform. That way everyone can
gotcha.
see.